Hey everyone, my name is Chris Green and today's video is all about the Mackie CR 3.5-inch Bluetooth speakers. Now the folks at Mackie were nice enough to send these over for me to check out, and having done so, I've got a bold claim that these are the perfect studio monitors for you to check out if you're pairing it with something like the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. There are really three main concerns that I have when it comes to speakers of this size. And right out of the gate, I'm wondering when I see a 3.5-inch speaker, is this going to be able to produce like the low notes of a bass guitar or the fundamental of a kick drum? Also with the size, is it going to be able to put out enough volume for the space that I'm in? And then the third thing is at the price. These are coming in at the time of recording this video for less than $100. So I'm asking myself, is this going to be of significant quality so that I can mix and master the music that I need to? I want to address all of those in this video because honestly, having used these things, I know that those skepticisms, I don't have to worry about near as much as I thought I would. So the first thing we should talk about seems kind of redundant, but it's actually how these speakers are powered on. It's a little bit different than what you would see traditionally. So you only have one power supply cable. This two-prong cable is going to be used to plug into our active speaker. The difference between a passive and active speaker is that an active speaker is going to receive power from some sort of power supply, and then a passive speaker is going to receive its power from some sort of amp, in this situation coming from the active speaker. So one speaker is powering both, and then also audio is being sent over those leads into your passive speaker. So with your lead cables, the red and white cables that are used to power your passive speaker, you're going to want to make sure that you put them all the way in. It's only a couple of centimeters, but you'll feel it. You can kind of give the speaker cable a tug to make sure that it's in there. And you can also pull these apart to a certain extent so that they separate enough so that they're not touching each other. You definitely don't want to have that happen. And just worth noting, for some sort of safety concerns, should there be any, make sure that your speaker is powered off. Make sure the power switch is off before you start plugging these into your passive speaker, just in case. So when it comes to the passive speaker, once you have the red and black wires plugged in, you should be good to go. There's no other settings that you can access on the passive speaker. Everything else is going to be on the active speaker. So now just taking a look at the active or the powered speaker, at the bottom left, there is a switch for left and right. Basically, you're telling Mackie which one your powered speaker is. So in my situation, I've got my powered speaker set to the left side. That's going to make my right speaker the passive speaker. You can easily swap this around. If you want all of your controls to be on the right side, just simply switch this switch to the right position. That will in turn make your passive speaker the left side. And then physically, whichever side you're facing, obviously you need your left speaker to be on the left, right speaker to be on the right. All right, the switch above the left and right switch that they have is one for desktop or bookshelf. Now, according to this, it's basically asking where do you have these speakers set up? If they're on your desktop, like in this situation here, they're literally sitting on the table with you, they want you to set it to desktop. And then if they're sitting on the back of the room or you have them way off in a bookshelf, they want you to put it in bookshelf mode. Personally, I've actually found that the bookshelf setting, even though they're sitting here on my desk, I found that putting it on the bookshelf settings seemed to sound better than the desktop. There's something that happens with the low mids, but you can certainly play around with it, flip them back and forth to see which one you prefer. Now we need to talk about how audio is getting to your speakers. At the top left of your active speaker, you've got a left and right input that is using a 1/4-inch jack. So your 1/4-inch jack, you can use a TRS cable or a TS cable. TRS cables are going to have a tip, ring, and a sleeve. TRS cables are balanced, and balanced cables generally will sound better because they are less susceptible to noises. So if you have a lot of electronic interference, something happening in your studio, you just have a lot of gear running, I highly recommend you get a quality pair of TRS cables, 1/4-inch, make sure they're 1/4-inch, and make sure they fit whatever audio interface you're using. In my situation, I have the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, which its outputs on the back, the outputs left and right, those are also 1/4-inch TRS outputs. So I can use a Mogami TRS cable to run from my Scarlett interface into my speakers. It's the best way to go. Balanced cables all day long. Links will be in the description for any of those if you're interested. Now below that, we have our unbalanced connections involving the red and white RCA jacks. If you're new to the game, you probably haven't seen these very much. It often makes me think of old video game consoles or VCRs. I know there's a lot of DJ equipment, drum samplers, and things like that that use red and white RCA jacks. Just know that RCA jacks are unbalanced, so you're going to get a lot more noise in your speakers than if you use the balanced connection. Then below the RCA jacks, you have an auxiliary input, which is like the 3.5mm headphone jack. If you're running out of your laptop and you don't have a quality audio interface, and you need to go from your headphone port on your laptop to the 3.5mm jack, you can certainly use that, but that is also unbalanced. One thing worth noting is that with your speakers, you're going to get one of these RCA to 3.5mm jack cables. So if you need to go out of your laptop, you can certainly plug this into the headphone jack and then plug the red and white cables into the unbalanced ports. So here I've got my Scarlett 2i2 4th generation audio interface. I'm gonna go to the USB slot on the back, make sure that's plugged into my computer. And now these TRS cables are from Mogami. You certainly don't have to have Mogami cables, but personally I found that I'd rather have a small amount of high quality cables than to have a large amount of broken and messed up cables. So I'll plug these into the back of my Scarlett 2i2 audio interface. There's a section for output left, a section for output right. I'll take the left cable, make sure it goes into the left port on the back of the speaker. I'll take the right cable, make sure it goes to the right slot. All right, now that everything's plugged in, we need to talk about the front of the panel. So on the front of these speakers, on the right side of your active speaker, you're gonna have your volume knob, and you'll notice that your volume knob, as soon as you turn it to the right, first it kind of clicks on. This will basically power on your speakers. You may notice that your main active speaker, the icon will start flashing white. Whenever it's flashing white, it is trying to pair to some sort of Bluetooth device. So I've got mine paired to my phone. If you're using an iPhone, you simply need to go into your settings and then go to Bluetooth, and you should see the CR3.5 Bluetooth speakers available to pair. It only takes a few seconds, and then once you've got it paired to your phone, you'll see that the icon is now green, meaning that you are good to go. So with the volume knob, I really don't have to turn these up much at all. I'm usually going to about the 1 o'clock position on the speakers, and that's going to be plenty loud enough. So typically what I'll do is I'll open up iTunes or the music app, and I'll start blasting some of my favorite Brad Paisley songs to hear really how's it handling the low end. How's the bass guitar sound? How's the kick drum sound? Also on the front of the active speaker, you have a headphone jack. So if you need to plug in headphones, maybe you're working late at night or in a quiet environment, you need to use headphones, just plug your headphones into the front, and then you can use the volume knob as needed. On the left side of the active speaker, the last feature is this work and play knob. So from what I understand is that if you turn this knob all the way to the left, you should be getting a relatively flat EQ response. As you turn it to the right, you're getting more of that hyped signal. You're going to be getting more low end, you're getting more highs and maybe less mid-range. It tends to clear things up. Personally, I really don't care whether it's on work or it's on play. I really just want to dial it in until it sounds good. I want to be able to listen, can I hear the bass guitar? Because if I can't hear the bass guitar at all, I know that my mixes will sound really messed up. As I'm playing guitar on my own, I want it to sound just as good as if I'm hearing bass guitar on someone else's professionally done song. So I'm finding that in about the halfway position between work and play, there is a setting where it will kind of lock in. That tends to be more favorable to me than having the flat EQ. By flat EQ, it doesn't necessarily mean that what you're hearing is a flat signal. It just means that it's not adding any EQ to your sound, but you really just need to set this to taste. So a few things for YouTube's video sake. I do have the monitor sitting right here on the desk with me. I do have a pair of speaker stands that I can use to elevate these and give me the proper angle so that they're actually facing my ears. If you can have these at about ear level, that would be great. I do hear a lot of bass that's going into the table. It's actually making my table shake. They did provide some foam pads that you can peel off and stick to each of the corners of the speakers. So generally that will help with a lot of that low end rumble. I found that setting it to the bookshelf setting did better for me than having it set to desktop. And then having that work and play knob, I really just set it in the middle between work and play. And generally that sounds good to me. You're gonna wanna use reference tracks. Anytime you get speakers, pull up your favorite Backstreet Boys song or whatever it might be. Make sure it's sounding as good as it can possibly sound. And then when you go to mix and master your own music, you'll have that reference that you can constantly go back to. The headphone jack on the front of the active speaker, I believe, is going to answer that problem of, are you going to be able to hear enough low end? When you go to mix bass, or you're setting the fader level for your drums, for your bass guitars or synthesizers, just go ahead and put on a pair of headphones and check it with your speakers being bypassed so that you can get an accurate level for your low end. And then when you unplug your headphones, you can go back to that speaker experience. You should know that whenever you have small speakers, the louder you try to make them, the more you're going to risk breaking your speakers. You're going to start hearing that kind of farting noise, like the flapping of the speaker cone is literally just busting at the seams trying to produce that low end. Know the limitations, set your volume, and really don't mess with the speakers from then on, because you could really mess them up. Here in this bedroom, I just don't need to have giant speakers. So that's also going to help with the price. The smaller the speaker size you get, the more affordable that they are. As with instruments and everything else, it's going to come down to the user. It's going to come down to, do you know how to use the gear that you're using? I definitely think there's a danger in getting some of the more affordable options out there. But personally, I can tell you that if you get these speakers, the fact that they pair with your phone, the fact that they plug in with your audio interface with a balanced connection, they've got certainly some handy features when it comes to the tone shaping, the headphone out, that I'd be looking forward to using even more in the future. I can highly recommend these speakers for you at this price point, and specifically if you're getting into the Focusrite Scarlett world of audio interfaces. One funny thing to note is that the Bluetooth function, it works extremely well. I don't think that you should be like recording music using Bluetooth, because there's going to be certainly a level of latency or a delay in the signal. But one funny thing that happened to me just the other day was that I was testing out these speakers and I had it Bluetooth to my phone, and I also had music playing from the laptop, and those two songs were simultaneously playing at the same time. So you do need to be aware. If you've got these things paired with your phone, make sure the music is turned off. Make sure it's not continuing to play a podcast or anything, because the Bluetooth and the analog inputs, they will happen simultaneously. So just be aware of that moving forward. Now, everything we've been talking about in this video has been related to music production, but one of the biggest takeaways as well is that if you're just someone who's looking for a pair of speakers that are going to work well for like a casual listening environment, you want to have some speakers on your bookshelf, or you want to be listening to YouTube videos while you're working, these are certainly going to get the job done as well. I don't think you need to be worried about the size, the price, or the amount of volume that they're able to output. This is definitely going to be a way to go. A lot of people have mentioned these being like the NS10s of the future. The Bluetooth feature is certainly well worth the cost. I think if you're looking for a second set of monitors, this will be a great system for you to check your mixes on. If you're going to be dealing with that low end, I believe the headphone port is going to save you a lot. You can certainly look at the larger sizes of these speakers as well. The larger the size, the more low end they're going to be able to push out. But I highly recommend you check out these Mackie CR3.5 Bluetooth speakers. I will have links in the description. And as always, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time.